All right, welcome everybody to the Viewer Virtus podcast. My name is Mark, and the Viewer Virtus translates to live with strength. And the subtitle for the podcast is Real People, Real Stories with Real Strength. And I have on with us today a good friend of mine, Bob Hendrick, from Man. Bob, how long have we known each other?
We've known each other for, believe it or not, 43 years.
Oh my gosh, incredible. I mean, Bob and I share a very special relationship. We were trainers, gym partner trainers for a lot of years in the early days. And I think somehow when you have that relationship with a training partner that you really like sync with, right? Like you and I were like, I don't know, cut from the same mold. But anyway, that was we still maintain, even though we don't see each other a lot, we live in different places, we've been apart a long time, we still manage to stay connected, which has been a very valuable thing to me in my life, having you as a friend. But today it's all about, you've had some life experiences here. We're going to talk about that. So just Bob, tell us about, where your childhood, kind of briefly where you came from, and then how you got to where you are today.
Sure. Well, basically what we've both been, I think you started off in Florida, right? Weren't you like in Florida for a while when you were young? But I'm a Long Islander, have been all my life. And I grew up in Centerport, went to Harbor Fields High School. And I started off as a very shy, introverted kid because when I was growing up, I was overweight. You'll see some photographs later on of me when I was a pudgy little kid, and that took me to another place. I think a lot of people can relate to that. I wasn't a jock in school, and I'm like, how can I find something to succeed in? Because physically at that time, it was not a good place for me. I was extremely overweight. I was made fun of. Didn't have many friends. And I'll never forget in junior high school, who was my best friend at the time, got on the football team at Oldfields. And then it was some sort of an initiation thing. He came along and punched me right in the stomach out of the blue, doubled me over. And I'm like, that was like a tipping point because I'm like, I'm being targeted because I wasn't athletic, I wasn't strong, and being mocked and made fun of. And in this day and age, it's tough because with the internet and everything else, kids can get really down and depressed when, they're in that type of an environment. You can get picked on easily and everything. And I wasn't a small kid. I mean, I was still strong, but it was like an eye opener for me. So basically, from that point on, which was 9th grade or so, I'm like, well, this is never going to happen again. So what do? I go into the Sears catalog, which doesn't exist anymore, buy the Ted Williams weight sets with the bench, bring it home, put it in my bedroom, and I start working out. So I knew by physically changing my appearance and my confidence with gaining strength, that would never happen again because I wouldn't allow it to happen again. Now, in turn, what I was doing when I was this fat, pudgy little kid and everything else, I had an ability to create with art. When I was 7 years old, I got my first set of oil paints at Christmas time. And the first house I painted was actually my mom's house when she was a little girl. And what it was the Burr Mansion in Comac because she was a Burr and she grew up there. I had no idea. I saw this house when we were driving by one day and I'm like, I have to paint that house. Now it just shows you, I had no idea my mother lived there. I had no idea about the history of the house. I was just a 7-year-old kid, but I did it and it was a really good painting. And it blew everybody away who's seen it. So I thought, you know what? Let me keep going. And basically I did, so I became an artist because the bottom line is you put in 10,000 hours of work, you're going to get good at something. but you have to put in the dedication, whether it be, with my case, art, and then weight training, whatever it is, whether it's rebuilding an engine, whether it is designing a school or designing a building, whatever it might be, you have to put in the work. Nothing is accomplished without hard work and dedication. We know that, right, Mark? Because the bottom line is we put the hours in the gym, and we both achieved amazing physiques by putting that in. And when we started training together, which was in Sturgis Gym in Comac in 1979, we started like a friendship almost immediately.
Yeah.
Because I seen in you, and you probably seen in me, a desire where we must conquer the weights. I mean, when we trained, we went to battle, literally to war with the weights every single day, right?
True.
The best one was leg day, because nobody, could train legs harder than you and I. The reason why legs is so important is that to conquer it, you have to go through more pain than you can possibly imagine. And anybody who's actually trained before, who worked out, who was competitive in bodybuilding or powerlifting, knows that. So the weaknesses usually fall on the legs because nobody wants to get in there. Put in the blood and guts that it takes to train that body part till you basically can't walk. And you transition that into life. So it's like we conquered the weights, and then we were able to take on individual battles. So like if we could squat 405 for 12 reps or whatever it is to failure till you're basically falling down and puking up on the floor, you can conquer other things because it shows that you can go beyond what you thought your limitations are. And that itself plays a key to everybody's success. So that's a basic overview up to training times, Mark.
Yeah. Well, so now you've got your own, you're married, you have your own business. You're recently you're going to be leaving New York for good old Nashville. Good for you soon, right?
Absolutely, because Nashville presents a wonderful amount of opportunities. And my wife, Nancy, and I are very heavily involved with contributing and helping different organizations that help veterans, police officers, firemen. Yeah. We had a pop-up studio in Port Jefferson, whereas we raised thousands of dollars for the Tunnels to Towers Foundation, which is a wonderful organization and was founded by this gentleman whose relative died, as a firefighter in the city during the 9/11 attacks. Now we're working with Folds of Honor, with Kristen down as the representative in Nashville, and it is something that is absolutely spectacular. I really can't go that much into it right now because there's going to be a huge launch coming, and it's going to really change how people think of. I can't even go into it, but it's going to be amazing. And hopefully, Mark, you'll have me back on your program to go over it.
Yeah,
it would be an honor to be here. Okay.
I'd love to talk to you.
That's what we're doing because we're utilizing our abilities to help others. Mm-hmm. And that's another very important thing that both Nancy and I truly believe in. In order for you to really benefit and for you to be fulfilled, you can't be selfish. Mm-hmm. Okay? You have to give. Like you give they say the more you give away, the more you get back. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't have to be in terms of a monetary compensation. It can be a spiritual one. It can be an emotional one. Just an example. When Nancy and I were living in Palm Springs, California, it was Christmas Eve. We pulled into a parking lot there. There was a family in a relatively old car, kind of beat up, outside in the parking lot. They had to sign up, for a donation. of some sort. Can you give anything? Nancy went into the store, bought like 5 bags of groceries, brought it out, and gave it to these people. Okay, this is Christmas Eve. These people were so overwhelmed. I right now I have goosebumps just going over the story. Okay, it made such a difference, and that act of kindness could have absolutely changed those people's lives in a way they never seen before. And it's like, I think all of us need to remember we have to be kind to one another and be who we're supposed to be. Be strong and be who you are. Like when you take a look at our society now, it seems to be running amok. It's running in every other direction. It's like there's no moral compass anymore. When you hear about these different things, on the news, it's like, it's I can't even go into it because it's so insane. It's like we have to return to the fundamental roots of who we are. Men have a specific role in society. It's not that we just wanted to have that role. We were given testosterone. We were given strength. Not that women aren't strong, but men typically are physically stronger than women, right? And you can't, decrease the importance of that. A man is a man, a woman is a woman. We're getting into it, they, them, who knows what, okay? I can't identify as a woman because I'm not, okay? I'm a man, and I'm proud to be that. But what's being taught now in the schools is that this is like normal. You can decide who you want to be, okay? Like Bill Maher, of all people, who's extremely left-wing, said when he was a kid, he wanted to be a pirate. He says he's glad his parents didn't have an operation to remove an eye, okay?
That's a good example.
The role. But look at what's happening in society now. That's what I love about what you're doing, Mark, okay? You are embracing science. You're embracing faith. You're embracing the fact that all of us need to be strong with who we really are. I have nothing against anybody who truly believes that they're in the wrong body or whatever. Has nothing to do with kids. Kids have no idea, okay? And when these things become commonplace, when kids are growing up in kindergarten and they're told that, you can be, if you feel like you're a girl today, you're a girl, that might be who you are, or vice versa, it doesn't work. It has no place in kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade, not at all. But this is becoming what the norm is, and that's what's scary. That's why it's great with your company, Mark, with what you're doing. You're embracing who we all are, and with strength, with God, and using biblical references, and walking the walk, okay? That is so important, and I really, really honor you for that. It's a great thing that you're doing.
Thanks, Bob. No, I appreciate it. Listen, I so appreciate it. Hearing you talk, we're like carbon copies of each other in some way. It's pretty wild, but that was pretty cool. So if you have to look back on obviously we all have our challenges, but if you look back on one time where you would say, man, this was like, you mentioned the one in the schoolyard, but is it that one, or is there another one where you would say?
You know what? We all have our individual, I would say, major battles, right? We have to win the war, talking in a military sense. But we have specific battles that changes the course of that war, right? Probably the most influential part of my life was when I believe I sent you some photographs of me when I was a little bit heavy, but right around that period of time. Okay, I think I was like tipping the scales at almost 300 pounds in those photos. Okay. And what happened was my father had passed away. My parents moved to Florida, and my dad developed lung cancer and he passed away. I was not able to be there for him because I was up here with my wife at the time and our 2 kids, and got the call from my mom. We drove down. And what happened was, for whatever reason, and I blame no one, okay? And I think that's important with everything that we do. We take self-responsibility, okay? There's nothing that I have done in life that I can blame anyone for except myself, okay? Everyone has different circumstances, okay? You can either rise to it or fall from it. But the blame game has to stop, because Harry Truman says the buck stops with me, the buck stops with me, okay? I could have done a lot of things different, and I didn't. And eventually, life pans out and it flows the way it's supposed to, no matter what you do. So, I was in Florida. My father was being cremated, and he was not cremated as of yet when I got there. I ended up going by myself to see his body at the crematorium, okay? And I'll never forget that moment, because they got his body ready as much as they could. But the last time I had seen my father, he was a breathing person. He was laughing, he was talking, he was kidding around with my children. Now I open the door, and in the room was basically the cardboard box that they cremate you in. And they had a light on my father. The hardest thing I did was be able to walk down at that moment. The silence of that room was absolutely deafening. My heart was racing. I seen my father laying there. I touched him. Of course, he was ice cold. And I was there alone. It taught me a very valuable lesson. That, number one, I needed to open up more and to be more of a man. And it taught me, if I could do this, if I could face the end of my parents' life alone, I could overcome absolutely everything. Nothing could compare to that moment. After that moment, there was so many things that happened in my life. My kids went to parochial school. It cost a fortune. I was working in corporate, and I had a couple of side gigs just to try to survive, because parochial school is extraordinarily expensive. I did not get the support, my fault, that I thought I should have from my spouse at the time. Okay? Like I said, I don't blame her. I blame me. I should open up my mouth. I should learn to communicate more. Okay? I take full blame for that. But during that period of time, what happened? I walked out one morning. My vehicle was gone. It was repossessed. Okay? You imagine getting up in the morning, you're going out, you're going to go to work, your car's gone. I thought someone stole it. Then I'm like, oh, you were 3 months behind, so we came and we took it, I got it back, but it wasn't easy.
Yeah.
Then I get a letter that my house is being foreclosed on. Okay? All this happened within the span of a couple months. So you can imagine.
Right after the funeral, you're saying, right?
Huh?
Right after the funeral?
Yes. So here it is. My father's dead. My car gets repossessed. My house is going into foreclosure. And the company that was foreclosing on it, because there was so little left in the overall mortgage, wanted that house because they would absolutely be able to reap the benefits of it. Okay? And I fought tooth and nail. And I went for a review with an attorney fighting this other firm. And the attorney couldn't believe that I was able to actually do this and overcome it and get back my house.
Mm.
because he said this firm is just known for being cutthroat and they stop at nothing.
Mm.
So here I am. Lost the car, almost lost the house, lost my dad. Okay. Can you really get much lower than that? Sure you can. Absolutely. But those moments basically turned my life because I realized that this is the wrong path I'm going down. Okay. That no one should have had to deal with all that at once. And basically I dealt with it alone, my fault, because I didn't communicate. Okay. Mm-hmm. I felt I couldn't communicate because I had to just focus and just try to drive through and become victorious over the obstacles that were put in front of me. But that pain changed me forever. And it gave me an outlook on things that forever changed the course of my life. So that was a really defining moment. Whereas it's like, I can't go down this road anymore. You know, I'm in corporate America. I'm doing sales. I'm making a lot of money in that, but that's not enough. I have to do this. That's not enough. I have to do this. That's not enough. To basically survive. It was survival mode. And I'm talking, it was survival mode for probably, I would say, about 12 to 15 years. Okay? It was an ongoing battle. Okay? That eventually came to an end. But that's just an example that no matter how hard things are, you can beat it. You can overcome it. And you can change your life and go in a totally different direction. No matter how bad things might be at the moment. I could have given up at any time. There were many times that I only wished, because I used to go to the city a lot as a representative of a company. And I hoped that a bus would hit me.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah, I hoped to die. Okay? I wanted to. Because I'm like, I asked the Lord, I can't do this anymore. Yeah. You know, driving across the bridges into Manhattan, I'm like, if a plane comes along and hits the bridge, I had no fear of it. I lost the fear of it. It was an out for me.
Yeah.
Did I ever try to take my life? No. If it happened, I thought everyone would be better off. My wife would have gotten the life insurance and everything. She would have been able to take care of all the debts, all that issue, you know, and I would be free of the madness that my life had become. So that was, you know, that point in my life that you see me at 300 pounds, I was basically feeding myself to death as well. Like, it didn't matter to me if I lived or I died. And it was like, you know, a coming to Jesus moment, a coming to Christ moment was like, something has to change. You know, I can't do this anymore. It's in your hands. Do with me what you will. Okay? Whatever it might be. But just point me in the right direction. And it took a while, you know, like another decade or so. But guess what? I'm very happily married. My artwork that I didn't do for like 30 years, I'm doing now. My work is all over the place. It's from coast to coast. Okay? We're contributing to organizations that matter. We're making a difference. And I'm doing this with my wife, Nancy, as a joint effort, because together we're accomplishing this. And she has absolutely changed my life, because during this period of time, I had fallen out of contact with my family, my brother, my friends, except for you, Mark. You've hung in there, you know, but no one, you know, the best man at my wedding, Angel, I hadn't seen in 20-something years. I never heard from him. My brother, I didn't for 20-something years. So when Nancy came back to my life, she's like, so how's your brother? And I'm like, I have no idea. What do you mean you have no idea? I haven't seen him for decades. So, okay, what about Angel? No idea. She said, why? Immediately, she says, well, you're going to pick up the phone right now. Call him. I called my brother. I couldn't find Angel. After a lot of research, I found him through his wife, Carolyn, in some business thing, contacted him. Like, well, what happened to you? Where were you? And I'm like, I basically went into my own recluse place where I didn't want to be involved with it. I didn't want them to see someone who I thought of as a loser. Okay? When we trained, it was like, there is no such thing as losing. If you give up, that's the only time you can be a loser. At that point in my life, I had given up.
Right.
I didn't want to see anybody. Okay? Nancy, my wife now, who I married, I seen, and I remember telling you about this like 20-something years ago.
Yeah.
She just came in and I out of nowhere, I was humiliated, okay? Because the last time I saw her, I was a massive bodybuilder. This time I saw her, I was a massive fat slob.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that because I'm like, look at me. And it's like, this is why I isolated myself. Because lifting weights, being strong was my identity. It's your identity. It's our identity.
Yeah.
When you remove that, you are so much less than you could possibly be. And through strength training, through devotion, through getting involved and giving my life to the Lord and asking him to come back into me, into my life, things changed dramatically.
Wow. That's awesome. When did you start getting back to the gym? Was it around the same time?
It was around the same time. Exactly. You know, and it was tough. It's like you go in there, the last time you went in there, you know, you're strong, this, that, and the other thing. It's painful. And it's like, it's the devotion again. It's like building up that dedication, you know, and it's not easy.
No,
you know,
no, that's not.
Train,
I often,
huh?
I often say that the people that you see in the gym who are really maybe like you were, right? So you were coming back and you were heavy.
Yep.
I mean, that is real strength, right? To have to really endure the workout when it's so hard at that pace, you know?
Absolutely. Okay. To walk into the gym, in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, these people are saying that. You know what it was? It was like when I was a kid again, when I was a little fat kid.
Oh, yeah.
They're looking at me, look at this fat old guy, you know? I wonder what he's going to do. But what blew them away was that no matter what has happened to me, and with a lack of training or whatever, because of the training we put in years ago, my legs were still extraordinarily strong. So when we were training, I was actually training with my son William at the time, because he was getting ready for wrestling and football. We'd be doing leg presses and stuff, and you'd have the big guys walking around the gym with their arms extended, with lats that don't appear, but they would load up the leg press machine and they get off and they're like, okay, you finished? Yeah. You want me to take it down? I said, no, leave it. And I'd be doing a massive amount of weights. And they're like, how can you do that? I said, because you don't know who I really am. You just see the before you. Right?
Yeah.
We are all who we are. We might not show it, but they're in there. Okay, the person is inside of you, and that's the key, to seize that person and to bring out that person. That's how you get strength. It's strength with God. It's accepting the reality of who you are and accepting nothing less than your very best. Because the only person who loses is the person who gives up. Like we always said, Mark, you know what? Anyone can stop. Anyone can say, I'm finished, right? Anybody can do that. It takes no strength. And let me tell you something. When the house is getting foreclosed on, when my dead father is laying there, okay, when the car is gone, I felt like that. I was so close, but that spark wouldn't leave me. It's like, no, you're meant for more than this. And that's how I changed my life.
Outstanding, Bob. Listen, I feel bad that I didn't stay even in better communication with you over the years. I think we both kind of drifted away for a period of time, but I think I always knew in the back of my mind that if I reached out to you, you'd be there. And I think you knew the same going this way, but you've been a real value to me since we connected again, especially getting River 2 started. Very, incredible to me. Incredible to see what you're doing with your life. I can't wait to hear more about it. I can't wait to come visit you. We're gonna get a workout together in Nashville. We're gonna film it.
Bring it. Remember,
yeah.
no regrets.
That's right. That's what we're gonna do, man. Yeah.
Mark,
So,
it's an honor to be invited on your show right out of the box. You know what? You and your wife, Andrea, are great people, and you have a vision. And with all my heart and soul, both Nancy and I believe that this is something that has to get out there, especially in these days. It's needed, and you have the right direction going.
Thank you, Bob. Well, I appreciate it. You have an awesome day. We'll get together soon again. Good luck with everything with your move. This is Mark from River 2's. The life clock is ticking. Go live with strength. Thank you, Bob.
God bless.